Welcome to Architects of Opportunities, a series on founders of nonprofit organizations. We will look at how one person or a few people saw a need in your community and found a way to fill it. Who are the people that are inspired to see a need and bring others together to lend a hand, and not for profit? They are the nonprofit founders. Founders are everyday heroes. They envision possibility and persevere to accomplish it. Founders in all sectors and across the country share a common vision. They want to make a difference.
Marty was always a mentor. He was always there to offer guidance and to remind me of what my priorities should be if they weren't, and to give me encouragement and to support me in making decisions that might be difficult. Marty came out and talked to the volunteers and told us about some of the history of Audubon Canyon Ranch that was hard fought in order to stop the development of Bolinas Lagoon, for example, and to preserve this beautiful area for posterity. Marty had a system of priorities when it came to the environment that really meant a lot to me and that I could really get behind, and that was that the environment, the land, the plants and animals came first, and then only then could the human uses be considered, as long as they wouldn't be doing too much damage to the primary sources. So these were principles to live by, and I think that Marty, in my experience, has lived that his entire life. He's always working on a wonderful project to try and preserve the environment, to make it better, to stop some program that's destroying nature in her glory and making it more difficult for us to enjoy the bounty that belongs to everybody in the natural world. I'm forever grateful to Marty, and I'm really inspired. Every time I talk to him, I find out what his latest project is and to pass on his legacy to people, everybody I meet.
I was raised in Ogden, Utah. I was born there and lived on the banks of the Ogden, Utah. My mother was a very outdoor person. She said, "You got to sleep outside so you're closer to nature."
Oh, good for your mom.
That's the way it's been all my life, been close to nature. In fact, nature is my God. When I was in the Boy Scouts at about age 14, we made our first hike over the ridges of Mount Tamalpais from Oakland. We came by ferry boat to Sausalito and got on an electric train. This was 1934. It whisked us.
1934.
We had rapid transit then. This county was crisscrossed with railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You go all the way out to West Marin even. Anyway, I saw the beauty of the county for the first time, really, when I was 14. As we hiked over the ridges of Mount Tamalpais, which is right down there, I can't let myself get out of the sight of Mount Tamalpais. I saw for the first time the white birds floating on Bolinas Lagoon, and it so captured my imagination that I determined that I would come back when I was older and try and protect it, because I could see two burning garbage dumps right in the bay.
Uh-huh.
And I'd lived in Oakland since I was about 7 or 8. They were backing up their garbage trucks right into San Francisco Bay and dumping it and filling San Francisco Bay.
Oh.
And before World War II, San Francisco was known as the most polluted body of water in the United States. All the raw sewage and all the garbage was going right into the bay. Over half the bay was filled with garbage and landfill. Miners, the gold miners back in the 1870s, with their hydraulic mining on the Yuba River, the mud from that floated down and partly filled San Francisco Bay. Richardson Bay is about a third or half as deep as it used to be. I was determined when I came back later. In fact, I went to University of California and
Berkeley?
Berkeley. My mother was the driving force in my life. And she always wanted me to be a doctor, so I had in mind right from day one. But I majored in pre-med and in botany and zoology. Every boy at that time was in the ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps. Anyway, I got accepted to Stanford Medical School. I had 4 months before I started, and my dad said, "We can't afford to send you to Stanford. You have to get yourself a job." And so I went out to the new shipyards in Richmond, came over to Marin County after medical school to practice. My wife leased an office space in Marin ship. I started practice, and I was just thrilled with the beauty of this place. But my uncle was the developer, and he was filling San Rafael Bay with garbage.
Oh, you could see him doing that.
He called me up one day and said, "Come on down, Marty, I want to show you how to make some big money." And he said, "I take the garbage, get it free, and I'm paid to take the garbage and dump it in the bay.
Oh,
And then I get a tax write-off as the resources depleted." So he and I never got along, and our paths crossed many times in the years I was fighting to save West Marin.
you fought with him?
Oh, we fought, not physically, but
Yes.
I hated his guts. He didn't like my politics at all. Actually, I got elected to the board of Marin Municipal Water District. I had the same drive that the other survivors of World War II had. It wasn't very long after World War II that we had the opportunity to save Reyes National Seashore. And to me, land from Point Montara all the way to Tamalpais Bay is sacred territory because men were stationed every half mile with big machine guns and cannon and all on the coast because we expected an attack from Japan. Well, there was a tremendous drive to build during those years of 1950 and 60 and 70. And all of these hills there were bulldozed. Bulldozers were very active, and it looked like California. It looks like Northern California was going to go the way of Southern California. And I'd spent a year in Southern California when I was a young boy. My uncle was an engineer for the Army Corps of Engineers who helped design the Los Angeles River.
Oh, they're
Concrete.
that's right, but they're making it a river again now.
Yeah, I read that. Mrs. Terwilliger, who's a famous name around here, invited me to be on the early board of the Marin Audubon Society, which she and Mrs. Livermore had formed to save Richardson Bay from being filled for a huge marina, 2,000-home marina. And at that time we were living in Sausalito. So I came over here and I was horrified when I saw the plans for this tearing down Ring Mountain, filling half of Richardson Bay with homes, and I got deeply involved in that battle in a sort of a strange way because I was doctor who could do anything. I was a sort of general practitioner. Assigned me to get Mrs. Rosie Verral in good shape. She lived on Richardson Bay. She had given 10 acres of land, see the house up here, to Mrs. Livermore in the Marin Conservation League. She tried to get the National Audubon to come in and help save Richardson Bay, but they wouldn't have anything to do with it unless she had a local organization of National Audubon branch right here on the spot. So she created the Marin Audubon Society in about 1957, and I was the third president of it. But my job was to get Rosie to a condition where she could meet Mrs. Livermore's elegant friends and help raise some money because we had to buy back the tidelands of Marin County. They belonged to the state. They didn't belong to anybody who could buy them. Marin County had the most subdivision of tidelands of any county in the state. There were 400 lots that were underwater that had been bought by people who wanted to fill the bays and build subdivisions. The bays were fairly shallow, so it was no big deal to fill them. But the reason I ran for the water board later on was to stop the filling of the bays and not allow any subdivisions on filled land, because the pipes invariably settled and separated, and then you had pollution of the bay. So by chance, my uncle was the attorney for the water district, the one who had filled Richardson Bay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I got in a big battle with him. I was the swing vote against bringing water from Sonoma County, more water, to develop the coast of both Marin and Sonoma County and bring more water down to Corgadera. I was the swing vote against that pipeline. I got hung in effigy at the Civic Center. I was the least popular man in Marin County.
How did that make you
in
feel?
Marin County.
Were you proud of that?
I was.
I bet you were. Congratulations.
Anyway, that was really a coup when we stopped that pipeline. But even more important, became the third president. I got invited by the State Highway Commission at Advanced Planning to go to a meeting about the freeways they wanted to build to West Marin, to open up West Marin and the coast. And I got this map, which is in my book, of the freeway route, which went over the foothills of, over the ridges of Mount Tamalpais right out there, and over to the coast, and then up past Williams Lagoon and Tamalpais Bay, and on up the coast into Sonoma County. It was going to be a divided 4-lane freeway. Roads going up to Ridgeline Freeway. Having learned some lessons from Mrs. Livermore, I found this ranch out there called Canyon Ranch that had a big nest of herons living on the tops of the trees, and they went over Highway 1 to feed in the lagoon. And I thought, well, this is a way to stop this freeway. So I went and visited Mr. Tevis, who owned the Canyon Ranch where the birds nested, and I asked him how much he wanted for his ranch. That day he was playing polo on a polo field which overlooked the Pacific. It was a 4,000-acre ranch that was in the proposed Reyes National Seashore.
When Marty published his book, Saving the Marin Sonoma Coast, which I can't recommend highly enough, it's a wealth of knowledge, and there's so many treasures in that book and so much inspiration. I think people have read this book all over the world and have taken inspiration from the idea that they can do it. They can make a difference. I think people sometimes don't appreciate when they come out to the beach or something to realize how close we came to not having this, to having, fences and partitions and, do not trespass type. That so often we have a defeatist attitude that we're only one person, we're only a few people, we can't fight City Hall, we can't, influence the political winds of time and so forth, but that's not true. Marty has proved that over and over. If you want to make a difference, you can. And a small group of people can really make things change for the better. And the Audubon Canyon Ranch story is a perfect example of that. One of the most important things is to preserve and to save an area, but you can't do that time doesn't stop. And so you have to find a way to continue to preserve and save an area. So I think with Audubon Canyon Ranch and all the work that went on to preserve Bolinas Lagoon and to get it into the park system and the National Park Service and so forth, and the county park system, there had to be a way, not just for that locally, but in general for the whole San Francisco Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay and other wetlands that were threatened and so forth. How could we protect those? And for that you need to have advocacy. You need to have political smart. So now you've seen what Marty Griffin and his legacy has done for the environment of West Marin and Marin County especially, and Audubon Canyon Ranch. And this doesn't exist in a vacuum. And so now the next step was to provide for the environment, the larger environment of the whole Bay Area. And for that, a whole different approach was needed, and that was to train a large number of people to be sophisticated advocates, to take advantage of existing laws and so forth in order to save all of our environments in their many forms. And that was the Environmental Forum.
Thank you, Marty, once again for being with us. There's so many things you've done in Marin that we're back again to talk with you about the Environmental Forum of Marin. And just how did that come about?
Well, I had started the Audubon Canyon Ranch in about 1961. I learned that there was going to be a freeway built out to West Marin. I did come from a battle to save Richardson Bay, which was successful. And I found out about this freeway going out to West Marin and started Audubon Canyon Ranch to try and stop it. In 1962, President Kennedy had authorized the purchase of the Reyes National Seashore. And I knew that if this freeway got built, that it would raise land values in West Marin so high that the parks would never get purchased. For 10 years, we operated the Audubon Canyon Ranch as a wildlife preserve and brought thousands of kids out there to see this magnificent heron. The state or the nation sort of ran out of money or something, and they decided not to buy the Reyes National Seashore. It took a tremendous campaign here in Marin County to try to change their mind. And the editor of the Pacific Sun put out an edition that went to all of the congressmen and senators in Washington, and it was distributed all over this part of California, urging the nation to go ahead and finish this national park, which was obviously one of the best pieces of land in the world. I was worn out running from meeting to meeting, and Stan Pitcher, who was our main fundraiser, and Clarence Zumwalt, who was our naturalist, we decided we needed help. And so we had just finished a training course for docents, a 3-year training course. We got a grant from the Junior League of San Francisco for for $44,000 to hire a trainer and assistants to train docents about the wonders of nature out in West Marin. This battle heated up for the National Seashore, and there was a lot of graft and corruption going on out there, and the people were selling land that the nation was going to buy, and subdivisions had even started on Drake to Stero. So we decided we needed an environmental forum. We needed to train people who weren't afraid to get up in front of boards of supervisors, or planning commissions, or sewer departments, or water agencies speak, especially before the highway commission. Actually, we'd already stopped the highway. We killed the highway out there by buying that beautiful heron reef where birds fed in Blenheim Lagoon and flew back to their nests. And the freeway would have ruined that. So the freeway was dead. There were developers just pushing to develop out there because of the climate and the views and everything. We got the Junior League of San Francisco to give us another $44,000, and we hired the same woman to run it, Remy Kingsley. She was a trained biologist, and she had a very good staff of people to help her, and we started the first class, and we had about 15 or 20 people at Audubon Canyon Ranch and how to be an advocate, how to get up and speak in public, and how to write letters to the editor, and how to raise hell. And it worked. So we graduated our first class, I think it was 1973. We started in 1972, which was the year that President Nixon refused to fund any more purchases of land in Reyes National Seashore. Well, the first people to take the course, a woman named Pam Lloyd. At the time, I was running for a seat on the Marin Municipal Water District Board of Directors, which is a very hot seat to hold in Marin County, hotly contested. After she'd taken the course, I asked her, she was a smart woman, I asked her if she would be my campaign manager. So she took it on. She did a terrific job for me. The die was set. It became sort of the focus of subsequent courses taught by Audubon Canyon Ranch for the next 3 years.
Did you get the seat on the water district?
I did. I won in a landslide. Yeah, it was really a tough campaign, and everything I said was taped because they were just looking for an excuse to crucify me if they could. Politics was pretty dirty in those days.
Unlike now?
Unlike the Environmental Forum really thrived. After 3 years, we turned them loose from Audubon Canyon Ranch because it was getting a little hot politically.
It's all volunteers still, right?
It's all volunteers.
Fantastic.
Nona Dennis has become sort of a leader in politics right now in Marin County. He was one of the first teachers. David Cavagnaro, expert in birds and feathers, especially. He was one of the teachers. And Kathy Cuneo and Phyllis Faber. I got into county planning in a big way, which really helped. I think it became a main part of the Environmental Forum. I was on the Environmental Health Committee for development of the new countywide plan, which is a miraculous plan. It divided the county into 4 parts. A coastal zone, an agricultural zone, a residential zone, and then later a Baylands corridor along the Baylands. That project has been taking the saving of all those tidal lands along the east shore of San Francisco Bay. It's amazing how this organization is held together, and it's all because they get some excellent students in it who are pretty highly qualified when they come in some field of the environment. We tried spreading it to other counties. I did. We lived in Hawaii for a while, and I got it started over there. Told them they couldn't afford to lose one more inch of their coast.
That's right.
After I was over there and worked on a big wildlife project on Mount Haleakala, we saved 20,000 acres. After that, they formed a Hawaiian land trust that have been buying thousands of acres and trying to protect their coastlines. I kept careful track of everything that happened on West Marin. Wrote the book, Saving the Marin, Sonoma Coast. Each class has purchased a copy of that book. I just was reading it. It's really, I don't know how I ever wrote it.
Isn't it fun when you look back and you think, who wrote this? It's pretty good. Right.
Yeah. It's really pretty good.
It is. That's right. It's beautiful, and it makes you really want to even do more.
It sold 9,000 copies, but I thought it was important to tell these stories because they're really unique, and how we saved Richardson Bay, how we saved Bolinas Lagoon, the big battle for Bolinas Lagoon, the big battle for Tamalpais Bay, and the big battle that saved the Reyes National Seashore, and along with that, out of the blue, we got the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, another 80,000 acres to join the 70,000 acres of the Port Reyes National Seashore. Anyway, I've had a long and happy life here in Marin County. It's not over.
Oh, not for a long time. It sounds like no matter what you do, you succeed mightily at it, too.
Well, that's my mother. She said, you got to stand up and be counted.
I could just sit forever and listen to your stories, but I know you have things to do, and thank you so much.
Nonprofit founders will tell you they don't do it alone. If you're among the 25% of us who are volunteers or volunteer board members or staff or donors, thank you. And if you're not, please join us in making a difference.